Well, we have been watching all the things that have been happening with this winter weather, and that is where we're going to start this hour because it is threatening nearly every state in the country.
Yeah, that's right. Meteorologists with the National Weather Service are calling this a once-in-a-generation storm. Some states, like Michigan, are getting blanketed with snow, while others from Montana all the way down to Texas are bracing for freezing winds.
And if you're trying to get away for the holidays, well, unfortunately, you need to expect major disruptions. Around 2,000 domestic flights have been canceled today, and that number is climbing. AAA estimates more than 7 million people will be traveling by air this holiday season.
Let's bring in Robert Sinclair with AAA. Robert, let's start with the airports. What can people do to make their trips as smooth as possible? Because I know so many people who are concerned with, well, I'll get that first flight, but I don't know if the second's going to go. What do I do? What should people out there do?
That is good advice. Catching the first flight of the day, statistically, they usually don't get canceled or delayed. I would think also if you're not able to do that, having the app for the airline on your phone is very important. That way you can be notified in real time whether or not there might be a problem with your flight. And generally, the airlines know fairly well ahead of time before departure whether or not there's going to be a problem. So the advice we've been giving is that check that app before you leave for the airport to see whether or not anything's going on with your flight, and get to the airport extra early. Usually it's 2 or 3 hours for 2 hours for a domestic flight and 3 hours for an international flight. You might want to add an extra hour onto both those times to give yourself a little extra time, and also use a carry-on bag. That way, if your flight is canceled, you'll have your bag with you, and you'll be able to go where you need to go and have perhaps a backup plan in case something does happen. You're prepared. Work with a travel agent. They can make it easier to make other arrangements in case you run into trouble.
Yeah, say, I'll mail the presents. They'll come after the holidays, but my presence is your present.
Yeah.
We know that a lot of people are also traveling via roads, and even some people thinking maybe about changing their travel as a result of this storm and concerns with the airports. But those roads can be dangerous. So tell us how bad it might get and what precautions people should take.
90% of the 112 million will be driving to their destinations. Over 102 million will be driving. So you can expect a lot of traffic. And given what's happening with the weather, I think that will be a problem as well. And also, we're anticipating 898,000 breakdowns just of AAA members over the holiday travel period from the 23rd of December through the 2nd of January. So with all that in mind, I would say make sure your vehicle is prepared before you hit the road, with special attention to tire pressure and your battery. The top 2 items we get calls for are flat tires and dead batteries. So give those items attention before you get out on the road. A fresh set of windshield wipers would be very handy to deal with inclement weather. Also, top off the washer fluid. You could have a little kit, an emergency kit that has some basic tools and blankets and jumper cables. Maybe a shovel and some traction aid, some sand, non-clumping kitty litter, those sorts of things. And when you travel is going to be very important. Earlier in the day is best. We're anticipating lots of traffic on December 23rd, 27th, 28th, and January 2nd. So traveling outside those days and outside afternoon hours from 4 to 8 p.m. will probably do yourself a lot of good and try to avoid traffic, or probably will be able to avoid traffic, particularly if you travel early in the morning.
I said my father's advice earlier, too. Half a tank is too little gas. As soon as you hit half a tank and you're in snowy weather, fill the tank up. Trust me, Larry was right on this one all the time. The other thing, I know you mentioned those busy travel days. I'm sure there are people that are considering canceling their holiday plans because of this. And I don't know if you want to be in the position to say, should they consider canceling? But are there adjustments maybe? Should people wait till Saturday if they can wait when you look at this overall scope of the weather right now?
That's a good point, because a lot of times you mentioned the app, Robert, and sometimes it'll say you can rebook, but you don't know if you should or shouldn't.
Right.
Right. Well, the length of the holiday helps out with that. The holiday happening on a Sunday, Christmas and New Year's on a Sunday, and then we get the Monday off. That, we think, is leading to extra people traveling, especially if they're still working remotely, because you could be at your destination, maybe stay there an extra day or two and be able to work remotely, or perhaps delay going there because of the weather. And that could help out. It's a long holiday. Because of that, it's the holiday with the most number of people traveling. We're talking about more than a third of the entire U.S. population being on the
Wow.
move at some point during the holiday travel period. So if you can put it off, you can delay it, especially if the weather's bad, you should do so. If you can avoid being out on these roads with snow and ice, do so. It can take a vehicle up to 9 times longer to stop in snow and ice compared to clear conditions, and posted speed limits are for ideal conditions. So it's really important, if you do have to go out in those conditions, that you take it very slowly, leave lots of room between your vehicle and the vehicle in front of you. But again, the best advice is, if you can stay at home and wait till the storm passes, do so.
All right. Robert Sinclair, we're so glad to have you on, and a lot of really valuable information. Appreciate it.
No, thanks very much for having me. I hope you have a safe holiday, and the safety message applies. Wear the seatbelt, obey speed limits, and do not drive impaired nor distracted, please.
Absolutely. Robert Sinclair, Merry Christmas to you.
All the best to you. Thank you.